Hi guys! So this is the video about taking the Keirsey. I'm going to go into week 8 because majority of what's in week 8 is about taking the Keirsey test. Right here is the Keirsey test itself. You could print it off and write onto it if you have a printer, or you could just get a piece of paper and number some things for yourself and take the test because it is a PDF. You can't write into it. So sorry about that. The reason I have you guys do the Keirsey on paper is if you go online, you can take the Keirsey, but you're going to have to pay for your results. And that is, of course, painful. I would not ask that you guys do that. So I am using the paper version of the Keirsey, which is the exact same thing. It's just you don't have to pay for your results. You have to score yourself, though. And that's the hard part of the Keirsey. So you're going to jump into the Keirsey, and it is a rather large test. I think it's 70 questions. It's not so much the 70 questions that are difficult. It's the fact of trying to interpret them. It does get a little hard to interpret some of these. So you're just choosing A or B for all 70 questions. So for instance, let me go into a couple of them that can be a little bit difficult to interpret. I took this just recently, and just defining some of the words is kind of like annoying. Oh gosh, where was that one? There was one that was like, and every year, like when we take this in class, it's a lot easier because I can just answer your questions. But when you're taking it on yourself, it's definitely a lot harder. There's a ton here that I can go by, that I could give you examples. So for instance, do you go more by facts or principles? Like, do you have principles that you'd rather go by than just like the individual facts? Instead of going by like the facts that are being presented about the coronavirus, you go by the principle of life is more important than the economy. Okay. So like, it's things like that become a little hard. You're welcome to what you could do is you're welcome to email me, and then I could put common questions maybe in a folder down below here so that you guys can see that. It's just, there are just a lot of these that can be kind of weird to answer. There it is. That's the one. Are you more drawn to fundamentals or overtones? Okay. And usually this is one that everybody asks about and they're like, what? So the example I always use with this one is like, are you drawn more to like the things that make it possible or the detail? So I use the example of basketball because, me as a silly basketball coach, I'm more drawn to the fundamentals. I want to see you be able to dribble a ball, pass well, versus dunk the ball, do something fancy. Okay, so I'm more drawn to the fundamentals usually. I want you to have the basic idea versus the details, where some people are very drawn to the details. Maybe some artists are very drawn to the details, that it doesn't matter the fundamental skills. Okay, so that's the kind of questions you're going to be asked. Do the best that you can, or, throw me a text or throw me an email and I'll try to answer you. All right, so once you've taken the Keirsey, you're going to go to the score sheet. And the score sheet is Keirsey answer key. All right. And it's not really an answer key as it is how you score this. Again, if you can print this, you're going to be better off, but you don't have to. I would take a piece of paper and kind of mock this out. I wouldn't draw this whole table out, but I can write column 1, A, B, all of that, column 2, A, B. So what you have to do, this is so crazy. All right. So what you have to do is you have to look at your number 1 answer, and you go into A or B here, and you mark A or B was your number 1 answer. So if I chose A for number 1, I put a little X on A. Okay. Leave B blank. I didn't choose it. For number 8, did I choose A or B? Let's say I chose X or A. So I put an X there. Number 15, I chose B, so I put an X in the B column. All right, you do that for all 70 questions. And this is where it's difficult. All right, that's why they can charge you for your results, because it is a hard test to score, or an instrument to score. All right, now the next thing I do is I add up all my A's. Okay, notice there's 10 questions, so my totals should add to 10 for each column. All right, so let's say I had 8 A's and 2 B's. Okay, so I add up all of my columns. Let's say I had here 7 A's and 3 B's. Let's say here I had 9 A's, 1 B. Okay, I do that for that. Ignore these little arrows. I'll come back to that. So I just add up all my columns. What was my total for each column? Okay. And then for each column subset, that should add to 10 if you did it right. All right. All right. Then, now, if I had, I think I said 8 and 2 here, seeing how there's no other thing I need to do with that number, I pull that 8 down and put it into the E, and I pull the 2 down and I put it into the I. Okay. This column's a little trickier. I take my 7 and 3 that I had here. I had 7 A's, 3 B's. I move my 7 and my 3 here, and then I add my 9 here plus my 7, so that's 16. And I add my 1 here and my 3 here, and that's 4. So I have 16 and 4. Okay. I then take this column's numbers and I move it over here, and I add these 2 numbers to get my T and F. And let me move this up. And then I take this column's numbers, move it over here, and I add those 2 together to get pull down my J number and my P number. Remember, for E and I, that should add up to 10. These should add up to 20 if you did it right. Okay, the J and P should add up to 20. The T and F should add up to 20. The S and N should add up to 20 if I just did that right. Okay, now what I do is my E and I. Well, my E was an 8. My I was a 2. So I'm an E. My highest number is what I am. Over here, my number was 16 and 4. So 16 is greater than 4. So I'm an S. Okay. Now, if you have ties, like say my T and my F are tied, you're going to have both of those. And this happens with a lot of you guys because you're young and you still haven't figured out your personality all the way. Okay. So I may be an ESTJ, and I also may be an ESFJ because I had a tie. Some of you may even have 2 ties. And so you may have 4 letter combinations. Okay. So once you get your letter combination, and I know that is tough. That's why this is a optional thing to do, but it's really cool. So once you get your letter combination, you can come in here and see what do the letters actually mean for you. And of course, it doesn't want to load, but you can come into this document and see what the letters actually mean. The E stands for extroverted, the I stands for introverted, but then there's like letters that don't really like make sense of why they stand for it, because I think they just didn't want to duplicate letters. But this little document, if it ever loads, is going to tell you what those letters stand for. That's not even the fun part. Okay, so you can take a look at what the letters stand for there. But then you're going to go to the Keirsey link that I've linked. Okay, so if we go back to your Schoology page, so those are the letters. I will have the Keirsey link right here in between. I realized I didn't put that in yet. Go to this link. It'll take you to here. And here are where you'll find those letter combinations. Okay, so let's say that I was an ESJ or FJ. So my title would be a provider. I'm part of the Guardian group. And I go ahead and I click into provider. and I can read about me as an ESFJ and what my traits mean about me as a type of personality. Okay. The last thing is kind of fun is just you can go in here as an EFSJ. I would say, and this is not my type, I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I can go into here, and this is just kind of fun, an ESFJ. This is my prayer. Lord, give me the patience. And I mean right now, because personality is not very patient if I ended up being an ESFJ. All right. So it's really kind of a fun test if you've never done it before. If you've done it before, you can jump to and find out what your letter combination is. The only thing I would say is these do change. We change, especially when you're young, because we're still trying to figure out our traits. All right, guys. If you have questions, please email or text or however, get a hold of me. Remember, there is that little section, and I am checking it daily, where you can ask questions of me, and maybe it's questions for Rivera here, questions about one of the questions that you're answering on the Keirsey. All right, guys, have a great day, and we will talk to you later.